Welcome to the Verdin Verdict Sports Show. I'm your host, Jacob Verdin. Today we have more LSU football practice highlights, but this time we got a scrimmage. We got offense, we got defense. They're finally taking on each other. We're not going to see no hitting. We're not going to see no tackling, but we're going to get to see how the defense looks, how the new offense looks. We're going to get to see a lot. We're going to get a lot of questions answered. Starting things off, we got Garrett Nussmeier. You got your first team out there. You're going to see Chris Hilton. You're going to see Josh Williams. You're going to see Kyron Lacey and Aaron Anderson. Now, moving to, kind of how the offense looked, you saw them kind of start off a little bit slow. You saw them do the dump-offs. You saw them do a little bit of runs. One thing I did notice that was interesting is that Josh Williams, while he did start, Caleb Jackson kind of got in and supplementally filled in. I think that running game is going to be a huge boost, as well as the utility of the tight ends in the room. Not only do you have Mason Taylor, who's ready to go to the NFL at this point. He's almost like a polished veteran. I know he's only played 3 years of college football, but 3 years of SEC college football. When in your freshman year, you're catching game-winning passes against Alabama, I think you're in a lot different situation compared to most tight ends. Look at Garrett Nussmeier letting this one rip here to Aaron Anderson down the sideline. It was so close, little bit over him. That's the type of play that you're going to want to see all season long if you're Joe Sloan. I mean, if you're an LSU fan in general, because Garrett Nussmeier can really sling that rock. Here comes Caleb Jackson, substituting in for Josh Williams, as we just mentioned. You kind of see, the writing on the wall here with the split backing opportunities, and this is a great idea because look at this. Getting through the hole, getting down, good luck. I mean, I know that's our buddy Sage Ryan getting in that angle, but 9 times out of 10, somebody cutting in on Caleb Jackson is going to have a rough day. Even if you bring him down, it's not going to feel good. It's not going to be, something you're looking forward to. But the offensive line, probably the best in college football. Will Campbell, Emory Jones, Miles Frazier, Garrett Dellinger, DJ Chester. These guys are going off. See Mason Taylor helping in on the pass block. Look at his dot. Boom! Put it in the pocket, Nussmeier. Look at him celebrating after the play. Get ready. All season long, you're going to see stuff like that. As long as this fantastic offensive line, these great players get open and, the offensive line holds the blocks, doesn't allow pressure through, I don't see a world where LSU's offense is very different compared to last year. I don't think we're going to be in a hurting situation, especially with this young man holding the football. Caleb Jackson's got me so excited for LSU football. He's definitely like a Leonard Fournette-esque player. He's definitely somebody that I could see, performing really well. But, hey, take a notice to that. Kyle Parker coming inside, playing in the slot real quick. So we're definitely going to see some Kyle Parker in that wide receiver 3 spot as well. It's not locked. I don't think Aaron Anderson's taking it and running with it as of yet. I mean, I think the defensive side on the second string is a little interesting. You see Deshaun Womack. You see potentially guys like Paris Shan who could go ahead and make an impact. But what I think you need to be most open about, and the thing that you need to be paying attention to the most, is the fact that the defensive back room needs to have a lot of depth. They're going to need to be able to perform with purpose. But let's move on to the no defense drill. I think that this is a pretty interesting look still. It's not like a scrimmage. It's not like what we just saw. But when you're looking at the quarterbacks and the wide receivers and the running backs and how the offensive line get all gelled together on the same page and just kind of see that fluidity that we're going to see all season long, it's a little interesting. You see Chris Hilton move, and you get to see a little bit of a glimpse of what we're going to see not only at the spring game, not this Saturday, but next on April 13th. Stay tuned. Hit the subscribe button for coverage on that. But it gives you a little bit of a pulse. It gives you a little bit of a relaxing to not be panicking going into the whole offseason. Like, oh, man, LSU needs to wake up on defense. Oh, LSU needs to wake up on offense. Like, there's not really too many worries when you go out here and you see drills like this, because you get to go and, like I said, get the litmus test of the program. If you didn't see anything all season long, if you didn't see any practice, if you didn't see any progress, if you didn't see any improvements at all, then I would be worried. But that's not the case. I mean, there's been weeks and weeks and weeks of highlight videos that have showed improvements and highlight videos that have shown the many possibilities that this offense can have. Plus, you've got a lot of guys like Kyron Lacey that are going to be able to just tap into another gear this season, because the NFL draft's around the corner. You got a lot of people that are punching their ticket this year, and it's going to inspire a lot of people here to have a huge year just like those guys did. Come back, develop, blow up. Let's look at this, though. Second team for this no defense drill. A.J. Swan comes out now. Now, I know Ricky came out during the scrimmage, but here's A.J. Swan. This is what I'm saying. You don't know who's where. Of course, next to him, RB2, Caleb Jackson. You got CJ Daniels out there as well. Now, what I want to know is, when you're deciding quarterback 2, as Joe Sloan, as Brian Kelly, what's the main determining factor? Because you can take 2 different paths here. First path you can take is the experience. You could take the fact that Brian Kelly, Brad Davis, all these guys, they value experience. They value somebody being in a tough situation, toughing it out, having the reps, and being able to be dependable and count on them. But Caleb Jackson right here, I want to note real quick. It's a rough little look, but. That's the thing about Caleb being a younger guy. He's got a lot of room to grow. He's got a lot of potential to fill. Anyway, going back to the quarterback 2 conversation, it's along that same narrative. A lot of potential, a lot of room to grow, but Ricky Collins is going to be the guy to do it. I think that this is a situation where it's worth a shot, hypothetically, if you need to put a backup out there, to just let Ricky cut his teeth. Why? Because if then the Ricky experiment doesn't work out, you could fall back on A.J. Swan. Now, here's the problem. If you put A.J. Swan out there, I don't believe you're falling back on Ricky Collins, because I don't believe Ricky Collins stays. If you're in a situation where you sit a younger guy, yeah, he's got a lot more eligibility, and LSU's a great school, and he seems to be really bought in. Some people are questioning whether or not, he was even sought after. I feel like the whole Ricky reconsidered thing showed just about how important and valuable that flip was. If you dated back a couple years ago when Ricky Collins was deciding out of Woodlawn what he was going to do, the whole entire city of Baton Rouge was celebrating in an uproar. I mean, this started a big push and turn in the recruiting efforts for LSU, for Joe Sloan, and for the entirety of the team. So Ricky Collins needs to stay on the squad if you want to continue to develop that culture and show the new recruiting class that they'll be able to be utilized. This is not necessarily the first starting point, but it's a big one. This is one of the big flips, the big major recruits that Brian Kelly and company brought in. So I wouldn't really want to see him transfer out. I really wouldn't want to see him not be in a situation to potentially get reps. Speaking of reps, wide receiver room, we always knew Kyron Lacy was wide receiver 1. Unless, you're a hater and you're in the comments talking about him dropping balls, yada, yada, yada. Well, guess what? Athletes can grow. They can develop. They can get better. This is going to be someone that does it. Of course, Chris Hilton, number 2. Aaron Anderson, though. See, look, I'm saying in my head right now, he's got to be the clear cut to be 3. But when you see Kyle Parker get in as much as he is, when you see Kyle Parker have that next man up rep mentality, because in a little bit, you're going to see him jump into the 3rd wide receiver spot. You're going to see him go after Chris Hilton. So those type of things make me wonder when the decision's going to be made, who's going to make it, and how it's going to be made. Because there's been moments, like even in the scrimmage, where Aaron Anderson, he had a big shot. If Aaron reels that catch in and scores a touchdown, I find it very hard to believe Kyle Parker gets in and gets the wide receiver 3 nod. But if Aaron Anderson kind of starts slower, if Kyle Parker pulls away, then I think they could have a bit of a decision on their hands. Now, it's not like the offense is going to have a lot of stuff to think about. Of course, yeah, you want to find out who your backup quarterback is, but that decision is mere implicationless just if Ricky doesn't leave. If everybody stays happy, one big happy family, at the end of the day, quite frankly, doesn't matter who quarterback 2 is, because both of these guys are going to grow, learn, and have an opportunity at the end of the day. For the wide receiver spot, it's a little more, I'm not going to say it's more important, because a backup quarterback is always good. It's stability, it's depth, it's comfort. Here's Kyle Parker jumping in at 3, by the way. But the thing that I notice, at least with the wide receiver position and that whole decision, is that this is going to be one of the matchup deciding factors. If you got Aaron Anderson, who's extremely fast, who can cut in and out, and you know what, I'm going to have an off-ball comparison here, but if he's smaller, if he's speedy, let's say he's like a Tyreek Hill, very, toned down Tyreek Hill. I'm not going to say he's just like the cheetah, but if we can get that productivity out of him, they're not going to be able to double a Kyron Lacy, a Chris Hilton. They're going to actually have to scratch their heads and get creative on defense. So it's all about matchups at this point. I think you're going to see a situation where Kyle Parker goes out for some schemes, some personnel, some situations, and you're going to see a scheme where Aaron Anderson comes out for some schemes, some personnel, some situations. There's also a very real possibility that some other people get in, such as CJ Daniels. On the second squad in the scrimmage, you saw Kai Preen get active. And Kai Preen is one of those guys that you've really noticed and seen flashes from, and you see the potential in, and you see that he could be the future. He could be someone that takes the torch from a guy like Kyron Lacy, from a guy like or excuse me, like Chris Hilton, because Kai is a freshman and he's got that redshirt eligibility. He's 6 foot, 200 pounds, from St. James. I think when you're looking at that build, that size, that frame, it's a pretty good name to keep an eye on. I think he'll develop and blossom. Hopefully he continues to get opportunities as well. Like I said, all contingent on personnel, matchups, how they're going to be able to help their teams. Switch this over to defense. Enough about the offense. No, I'm joking. But defensive backs, Corey Raymond, the big project, everybody wants to know, are they going to be better? You see Zy Alexander in full pads. Excuse me. He's not in full pads. He's kind of repairing his body. He's kind of sitting off, and, you know, he's looking like he's working out because he had cleats. They're not bad. He has cleats. He's got the jersey. He's got the workout clothes and all that, and I think he's moving around. I think, you know, he's cleared for non-contact drills, but, you know, never really heard too much about it. That's going to be something that I'd be very interested to hear Blake Baker talk about today. Keep in mind, Blake Baker is going to have a media appearance. We're going to do a little reaction to it. We're going to talk about what Coach Baker says later this afternoon, so keep tabs on that. But I'd have a hard time thinking he's going to say anything negative. I have a hard time thinking he's going to say anything that's indicative of them being in a later spot than they thought that they would be, because this defense looks ahead of schedule. This defense looks interesting. It looks a lot better than I would have anticipated. It looks a lot better than the defense did at the, midpoint or, slow beginning of last. What's happening? Why is this happening? What do we do to fix it? And those questions, I think, are going to be answered by huge hires, such as, obviously, Blake Baker, Corey Raymond, Bo Davis, yada, yada, yada. I don't need to keep saying it. Y'all already know. But when you bring those guys in, you bring in the hype, you bring in the accountability, you bring in that respect. And when the coach says something, you shut up and listen, quite frankly. The drills that they've been putting out, and I love watching them because it's really fundamental based. And that might be boring to some people, but fundamentals and the little things help you build a very stable foundation that is championship caliber. I don't think that a championship team is going to be able to just go out there, throw something together in a year. It's going to be a big process. Year 3 under Brian Kelly. Very exciting. We got more spring football practice coverage coming. Spring game next week. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching the Verdin Verdict. Y'all have a great day.